So now we move to questions to the Honourable Prime Minister. Honourable members, the table has been advised that PQB9 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms. Our Honourable Second Member for Flac and Bon Accueil, Mr. Beechook, yes?
Madame la Présidente, B1. Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Ministry of Finance that on the basis of a survey carried out, 78 special purpose vehicles had been set up over the period 2015 to 2024. And in that, it comprises 69 state-owned companies and 9 special funds. But in all 78, the outstanding debt of these state-owned companies at the end of December 2024 stood at some 33.6 billion rupees. 33.6 billion rupees. It represents 4.8% of our GDP, Madam Speaker. As for the list of the companies, including the special funds and the outstanding debt at the end of December 2024, is being tabled because it is a long list and we don't have all the information yet.
Yes, Mr. Beechook.
Does the Honourable Prime Minister intend to come with a law regulation that would make all these SPVs accountable to Parliament, because they've been operating in total opacity till date?
This is why I tell people, some people are impatient. We need to do all this. They will have to account every penny that has been spent or stolen or whatever has to be accounted for.
Yes. Yes. Honourable Third Member for Grand B, Poudre d'Or.
Merci. La question B2, s'il vous plaît.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by that the Commission of Prerogative of Mercy has, for the period of from 2015 to 2024, received 7,109 petitions for grant of pardon, out of which 4,599 have been acceded to. Information indicating the names of the persons granted pardon and the offence in respect in which conviction was secured is being compiled and will be placed in the library of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, the House will appreciate and concede that the question covers a relatively long period of time and implies compiling a list of thousands of names of convicted persons who for the past 10 years have applied to the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy and who have benefited from its decisions. The list, as I say, will be circulated when the exercise is completed, but some indication of cases of notorious reputation have already been flagged in the media, which has provoked widespread criticism. Of these, the infamous case of one Chandra Prakash Singh Deep, found guilty in a case of fraud and sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. Here, the Commission intervened to substitute the prison sentence by a fine of 100,000 rupees, 100,000 rupees. This was a case where the Commission delivered a decision whilst a stay order of the judgment was enforced against the convicted individual, that is Mr. Deep, and it was therefore under judicial controls. Never happened before. While the judiciary says, hold on, the Commission of Prerogative of Mercy decided that, no, we don't have to wait for the judiciary. And that convicted individual, as we know, happened to be the son of the former Commissioner of Police. And it was easy for the public to draw its own conclusion and express the disgust and of such an over-defiance of the judicial system. This case was another scandalous legacy left by the previous regime. And we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That is what we have to make sure. We need now to retain two fundamental points from this state of affairs. First, this was a clear case of violation of the principle of separation of powers, whereby the powers of the judiciary have been outrageously usurped by the executive by a clique in power. This is what happened here. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. I'll keep your secrets, you keep my secrets. This is what happened. Secondly, the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy, through its conduct, was perceived by the public as blatantly lacking independence. Again, we had very good people in the past, but this is what happened this time. It was perceived as yet another striking illustration of the decay of our public institutions under the previous regime, Madam Speaker. This episode showcases the harm which an irresponsible executive can cause to a country, going to the extent of perverting the court of justice. The course of justice to satiate the totalitarian state of a petty dictator. Madam Speaker, we will revisit how the Commission is set up and how it should function to prevent such a repeat of such a scandalous matter.
Yes. Honourable third member for Boubassa, which is here.
B3, Madame la Présidente.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, driving under the influence of drugs is a major concern and contributes to road accidents resulting in fatalities. More and more, this is the case. In regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 1st of January 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 13 drivers involved in road accident were tested positive for drugs. 2 of these accidents were fatal. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that inquiries into the 13 cases are ongoing. As for Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that several measures are being undertaken by the police to deter the use of drugs by drivers, and some of these measures are as follows. First of all, from the 1st of January, there were 2,771 public campaigns focusing on the dangers of both drink and drug driving have been carried out. They carried out in malls, in public places, traffic centers, and in schools. Secondly, delivery of lectures to private companies on safe driving and behavior on the road. Thirdly, patrols are being carried out. They have been increased on a regular basis. Fourth, 3,378 targeted operations were carried out during the period January 2024 to 30th of January 2025 in order to track road traffic offenders, including those who have consumed drugs. From the 1st of January, from that time, 1,146 drivers have been booked for driving under influence of drug or intoxicating substances. Over the last weekend, some 18,258 vehicle checks were conducted, out of which 3,900 contraventions were established and 1,286 fixed penalties were issued. Furthermore, 54 drivers were tested positive for alcohol and 14 drivers positive for drug consumption. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed that the Ministry of Land Transport is in parallel conducting a sensitization campaign on the NBC TV, radio, and other media platforms, again on the dangers of drink and drug consumption and driving. Madam Speaker, my government is very much concerned about the overall damage caused by drugs on individuals and public at large, including road accidents and, as you said, involving drug-impaired drivers. We are committed to ensure the safety of all road users and will relentlessly fight against the scourge of drugs in our society. Government intends to have a thorough review of the whole issue of road safety and penalty points. And the penalty points will be reintroduced. They should never have been stopped. Reintroduced, but we're going to look at it in a global manner. In some places, there need not be on motorways cameras forcing drivers to suddenly brake. All this will be looked at. We're having an expert to look at this. This is what I had to say. I could also say that we're looking at people from outside to come and have a look.
Yes, yes.
Madame la Présidente, le Premier ministre peut-il indiquer à la Chambre, de ces 13 cas qu'il a mentionnés, combien sont liés à la consommation de cannabis, combien à la consommation de drogues de synthèse et combien à la consommation de cocaïne, héroïne ou autres types de drogue.
The information I have is not detailing which drug was used, but I can say 13 were tested positive.
Président, dernière question. Le Premier ministre est certainement au courant des dégâts causés par les drogues de synthèse qui sont facilement accessibles aux jeunes dans les coins et recoins du pays. De ce fait, le gouvernement compte-t-il imposer des mesures pour que les chauffeurs de transport public qui ont la vie de milliers de Mauriciens entre leurs mains soient systématiquement soumis à des contrôles avant de prendre la route?
Yes, as I say, we are looking at it globally. All this will happen, but may I remind the honourable member that the previous regime, look what happened. Drug erupted in the country, in schools. Young children were taking drugs. This never happened before. But anyway, whatever has happened, we're going to look at this, and I should perhaps add, we take it so seriously that we're having a special agency, and I'm appointing Mr. Sam Lutan, who knows the issue very well, as he will be like a czar for drugs. He will be in my office, but he will be the chairperson of that national agency.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Honourable Third Member for Pamplemousses and Triolet.
Madam Speaker, B4.
Madam Speaker, the World Drug Report of 2023 warned of a proliferation of supply, demand, and use of synthetic drugs, as well as an increase in substance use disorders. As per the report, the number of people using drugs has increased by 11% globally, but by as much as 40% in Africa. That is in 2023. Madam Speaker, in response to the growing threats posed by synthetic drugs, the United States launched the Global Coalition to address synthetic drug threats aimed to accelerate international efforts to tackle this rising crisis. As part of the Global Coalition initiative, the government of the United States provided funding to the UNODC to conduct a detailed assessment of the threats posed by synthetic drugs. This project also evaluated national and regional capacities of 6 East African countries, namely Kenya, Madagascar, Seychelles, Tanzania, Uganda, and Mauritius was included in that, to implement key actions outlined in the UNODC synthetic drug strategy. A validation workshop was held from 25th to 27th September 2024 in Nairobi. This report, which has yet to be finalized, it is expected to be released in March. As part of the assessment in July 2024, the UNODC conducted a study on synthetic drugs in Mauritius, specifically in Mauritius. And some of the main findings of the UNODC report are as follows. First of all, among the 6 countries that I named, Mauritius has been identified as the leading user of synthetic cannabinoids. Mauritius is the leading one. Drug habilitation efforts within the public sector remain severely limited. Rehabilitation. Although methadone, this is what the report says, although methadone treatment is available, and I remind the House, methadone was introduced when I was Prime Minister. When the new government came in 2014, the minister then decided, no, methadone is not important. I know an expert from Reunion Island expressed his views on that. That is a big mistake. And then later on, they had to reintroduce the methadone. Now, it says, although methadone treatment is available, other forms of treatment remain underdeveloped and inadequate. And loss, I think it says, psychological support and interventions, including traditional medicine, where available, needs further strengthening. With limited resources and insufficient follow-up strategies, many individuals either fail to complete the inpatient treatment or relapse after finishing it. Madam Speaker, the threat posed by synthetic cannabis and other drugs in Mauritius was already highlighted in the Global Organized Crime Index of 2023, which measures 15 criminal markets, including drug markets across 193 member states. And in that report, out of the 193, Mauritius was ranked at the 7th place with regard to synthetic drug market behind South Africa among this area. However, in spite of Mauritius forming part of the US Global Coalition since November 2023, the previous government allowed the situation to worsen. Nothing was done, as usual. It has failed to fully leverage the benefits and resources available through the coalition to strengthen the country's response. Madam Speaker, as stated in the government program, which was just read by His Excellency the President, the fight against drug trafficking and the use will be one of the major priorities of this government. Let me reiterate the actions that my government intends to take to deal with this. Additional resources will be provided to the police, not just resources, not just spending money. These people have to be trained to know how to tackle the problem, to increase their capacity to deal efficiently. Bold measures will be adopted to end the suffering of families and society in general. We also said a select committee of the National Assembly will be appointed in the near future to look into the ways and means to address this problem of drugs. Government will develop and implement a comprehensive action plan for a more efficient and effective response. The legal provisions in respect of trafficking, consumption, and treatment of drug addicts will be reviewed to cater inter alia for differentiated treatment of traffickers and consumers. And government, as I mentioned just now, will set up a national drug policy monitoring and coordination agency that will bring together various public bodies all under one roof to combat drug trafficking, provide rehabilitation and support to families of victims of drug abuse, all under one roof. This is why I mentioned, when I mentioned Mr. Sam Luton, who is former minister, to be the chairperson of this agency. We will also ensure, Madam Speaker, that actions being taken to combat the drugs are aligned with the recommendations of the UNODC report.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes?
Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Prime Minister advise if the said study indicate if the problem of drugs is concentrated in certain regions of Mauritius, or whether this is eating the whole of our future as a whole?
From what I see so far, Madam Speaker, it is a national problem, not just in one region, but a national problem.
Yes, thank you. The Honourable Member, fourth member, for Port-Louis North and Mont Island.
B5, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for this question, as it gives me an opportunity to let the police and the country at large to see what kind of shenanigans the previous regime resorted to, thereby causing untold justice and demoralizing the police force. The very important Person Security Unit is a specialized unit, as you know. In the context of filling of vacancies in that unit, officers are assigned higher duties, that is, to the next rank above their current substantive capacity for a period of 6 months. Such officers may be considered for promotion in the substantive capacity only after having satisfactorily completed the 6 months assignment. In the event they are transferred to other divisions or branches of the Mauritius Police Force during the 6 month period, the assignment of duties lapses. Now, Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that in December 2014, shortly after the new government came to power, 21 police officers posted to the very important Person Security Unit, 21, and who had been assigned higher duties were reverted to the former ranks, 21, immediately. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 10th of November 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 47 police officers posted to that unit and who were assigned higher duties on the 24th of August 2024, that is just prior to the election, were transferred to other divisions and branches of the police force. As they were transferred before the completion of the 6-month period of that unit, the assignment of higher duties have lapsed. But I wish to inform the House and the Honourable Member that since 2015, several officers attached to the VIPSU unit have benefited from accelerated promotions, superseding other very deserving officers. Juniors were favoured over more experienced and senior officers. It was a blatant injustice to members of the police force under the previous regime. Everything was politicized. There are some very able police officers in the VIPSU. Not only their juniors went over their head, they were downgraded. What they had already received been downgraded. And then the juniors were given accelerated promotion, 1, 2, 3, even 4 promotions during that period. These injustices, Madam Speaker, will have to be addressed and corrected.
Yes?
You allow me 2 supplementaries on this.
Yes, please.
Yes, firstly, Madam Speaker, is the Prime Minister aware that there are police officers who have had, reckoning 27 years of service as sergeant, promoted to inspector, in fact were appointed to the unit under his first tenure as Prime Minister? There are officers with 20 years of service appointed on your second tenure as Prime Minister, again sergeant, promoted to inspector. They've been stripped off of their promotion, the most unfairly, a few days after the Prime Minister took office.
What you should look at, I suppose the Honourable Member doesn't know. I'll just explain how injustices were performed. Now, if a police officer who has been appointed gets accelerated promotion and becomes, in other words, is senior to somebody who was already senior, who has been downgraded, we have to correct the injustice. That is what happened.
I'm sure the Prime Minister will realize that 27 years as a sergeant promoted to inspector is not accelerated.
This is not a question.
Yes. Madam Speaker, the question is, the Prime Minister recalls the 21 VIPSUs being promoted in 2014. This is why the Prime Minister gave the assurance on the 22nd of September at Triolet in a meeting on his own volition that he gave the guarantee that no police officers would be transferred and stripped of promotions, and that same had happened to him. He gave that word, and yet a few days later, after being elected, these poor police officers have been stripped of their promotion. My question is to the Prime Minister whether, in considering his own word that has been given prior to the election, he will not remedy the injustice that he has himself been aware of prior to that.
But the Honourable Member doesn't say. Not all the police officers who had a promotion are being stripped of. Not all. I mentioned the figures here. But when we are looking at what has happened, we have to take corrective measures. And I'm telling you one thing, I will not stand for injustice in the police force. We have to correct the injustices that happened. It happened, unfortunately for them.
One last one, yes.
The Honourable Prime Minister might at least, for those officers, again, that haven't had fast promotions tracking, that haven't jumped ahead of their junior colleagues, more senior colleagues, if at least he could give consideration to those officers to restore their promotion. As I said, at least 2 cases of those appointed under you to the VIPSU have been promoted recently and stripped of. Whether he will at least give consideration to cases that look to be genuine.
I'll give you an example to the Honourable Member. He keeps saying appointed under me. Do you know that one of the VIPSU who was in the car behind me, who I promoted through the police, discipline forces, he was given that promotion to be behind the Prime Minister. It's a great privilege. Do you know what he did? He is the one who went and told the MSM leaders that the police didn't do proper search in my home. There's another safe. The police came through his declaration. He went to see the then Commissioner of Police and the former Prime Minister. And they came to my home. They had already turned my home upside down. Everywhere. All the drawers had been thrown, everything upside down. They came again. I asked the policeman, why are you coming again? You've done this job 2 days ago. He said, I can't tell you, but I will tell you in a minute. He didn't want to say in front of other people. And then he told me, the guy who was in your car, you had promoted. This is what he has done. Do you want me to just stay quiet and say, okay, Jaide? No, sir. This is gone. We will take action. We will take action. I know who he is. But we will take action. We have to correct these injustices and these traitors. They have a duty to be with the former Prime Minister. With me at the time I was former Prime Minister, and this is what they did. And you think I will just sit down and accept? No, I will not.
Your next question,
B6.
B6.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to parliamentary question B6 and B15 together as they relate to the same issue. Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member again for giving me the opportunity of informing the House of recent developments in connection with the very, very disturbing practices resorted to by the last government to spy on our citizens, everyone. You will be shocked. In view of the importance of this matter, Madam Speaker, I crave your indulgence and that of the House for taking a little bit more time to give a comprehensive reply. Madam Speaker, the protection of the freedom of expression of any person is enshrined in Section 12 of our Constitution. Let me quote Section 12 of the Constitution. Except with his own consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, that is to say, freedom to hold opinions and to receive and import ideas and information without interference and freedom from interference with his correspondence. It is therefore crystal clear, Madam Speaker, that phone tapping constitutes a breach of our fundamental human rights, and it is particularly an intrusion onto the right of privacy. Now, the whole nation was shocked. I'm sure some members of the opposition too might have been shocked when it came to know in October of last year, through the Moustache leaks, that private telephone conversations of individuals, key government officials, political opponents, as well as even members of the judiciary, diplomatic missions, were being listened to by the MSM government. As soon as I became Prime Minister, I considered that it was an urgent priority to investigate the nature and extent of the surveillance, to investigate the techniques and activities employed by the previous regime to spy on its own citizens, and to take swift action to render them inoperable. I tell people, many people are impatient. We have priority. This is a priority. I had to stop this phone bugging, listening to people's conversation, to be absolutely sure that this was being done. On dit, le chat ne boit pas du chaud de fois. Ça m'est arrivé avant. So to be absolutely sure that this was being done, I invited international experts, real experts, to carry out a thorough investigation together with senior members of the police force and the Commissioner of Police. I have to inform the House that the results of these preliminary investigations have been nothing short of shocking. The initial conclusions are as follows, and as I said, they are breathtaking, to say the least. I haven't shared this with most people except the Deputy Prime Minister. The MSM government, believe it or not, Madam Speaker, did not only do phone tapping of certain high-profile members of the opposition, or even, as I say, even its own ministers, even its own allies, including the PMSD. They were listening. What happened to you with the car accident? All this they have listened to. Who said who to tell you to do this, not to do that? All this, I can tell you. They even went further, Madam Speaker. This is what is more shocking even. Even that is shocking. But they conducted mass surveillance. Mass surveillance. They had multiple sites, not one site, multiple sites where this was being done. What this means, Madam Speaker, that the government, the last government, put in place systems to monitor and intercept calls and internet traffic in the country. This is what's called mass interception. Let me quote what the experts say. The system put in place, I'm quoting, is a highly sophisticated mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of the people of Mauritius. In other words, what I'm saying, it's not just me or the Deputy Prime Minister or members of the opposition. Everyone, including allies, including ministers, including members of the judiciary. This means that every mobile conversation, I'm putting stress on every mobile conversation, every landline call, every post on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Signal, on TikTok, every email, everyone, I'm saying, not just us, everyone was being monitored by the government. Do you realize what this means? It's a massive, massive monitoring. Every piece of digital data communicated by a citizen to every other citizen in this country was diverted. Everything you're saying was diverted to this government system for storage and subsequent analysis and exploitation. And exploitation. When Judah came and approached the leader of the payment state, he says through this, that they knew what was happening. The system had the capacity to intercept and store all communications on the island. All. Not just some select cases. All. Journalists as well. Journalists as well. All this cost a lot of money, and of course, it was the public that was paying, not them, public. As our nation was groaning, was suffering under financial strain, on facing, each one had a problem in each household, we know, the cost of living. What were they and the handmen engaged upon? Spying on all the Mauritians, all of them. All the people you see here have been on the phone, including you, Madam Speaker. Everyone. Even if you were not in politics, where you were being listened to. So far, for the costs, we have uncovered payments in connection with these systems. Listen to this carefully. You know how much? Over $110 million for this system. People are complaining about the cost of living. They're having difficulty to make ends meet. Here, the government, the previous regime, spent so far, I said, it's probably going to be more. $110 billion US spent on this. A company based in Dubai, I'll name it, Petzl, named in Dubai, was being paid to service the system, the equipment. How much do you think? How much could a servicing a system cost? I'll tell you. $7.5 million per year. How is that possible? How can you spend millions of dollars? What it means is that some of that money went into the pockets of some people. That's what it means, because it can't cost that much. I'm sure all members of this House, every Mauritian will feel as I do. When I learned of this, a sense of revulsion and disgust at what the priorities of the previous government of the MSM and its leader was. These were the priorities. And now they're jumping, they think they will get elected again. I should add, Madam Speaker, that when international experts, who, as I said, were accompanied by the Mauritius Police Force, sought to establish what information had been gathered, they found that the stations had been wiped clean. And when wiped clean? We know. as the results of the election were coming in, this is when they were cleaning everything. It shows to me that they thought they will win the election. I don't know in what tower they were living. But when they realized that they're losing the election, while people started with their flags, very happy that we have been relieved of these maggots, here they are cleaning their mess. They were wiping clean everything. But let me give a word of warning, because this is being done other places too. We are aware. We are aware of what's happening at the State Bank. For example, we are aware of a few other places. Let me give a word of warning, Madam Speaker. The experts, they are real experts. Whatever you clean, they will be able to retrieve the information. They are able. That's why I know. Information that have been cleaned, supposedly. We know now. We have them. We will identify those who destroy evidence. As the Attorney General and other lawyers know, it is a criminal offense, and it carries heavy penalties. They think they will wipe out and we will not know. I can assure the House, they will have to bear the consequences of the deeds. They will feel the full force of the law, and we will see whether we don't have to strengthen the law for these people. I agree, we will have to. In fact, by attempting to destroy evidence, they are worsening the situations. They have been warned, take your responsibility. If you want to go and destroy evidence, go and destroy if you want. We will get the evidence. I'm pretty sure of that now. Madam Speaker, the task of sifting through this squalid rubble and debris left by this mafiosi regime, which was utterly devoid of moral scruples, who ignored what the Constitution said, we will continue until the whole truth is known to the nation. As far as for the last part of the question, I can tell the House and the whole nation that I've asked an end to be put to the secret surveillance installed by these undemocratic and perverse group, which have practiced a blatant state capture and confiscated our liberty. This is what the election was about, liberty and unity. This should never be allowed to happen again. I can confirm what the experts said, and I'm quoting, all equipment have been catalogued, shut down, and disconnected. The system is now disabled. Nobody is going to listen to what you say. I can assure you. There will, under this government, never be any restoration of mass interception of us. Never. I can tell you, both of us have been prime ministers. I'm prime minister again. The deputy prime minister has been prime minister. I can tell you, I was in the opposition. I became prime minister afterwards. Neither of us ever did these undemocratic principles. We never spied on the opponents. Neither he nor me. And we were not together at the time. As these experts describe it, what was being done, and this is also important. They were using the most sophisticated technological equipment for eavesdropping, but they were also making use of the cameras. We've said, remember Osman Mohammed said the camera was pointing at his home. And Sani Root said, well, close your window. The 4th Street were 4 cameras. Only one exit, but 4 cameras. They were using that, and they were using the cameras to monitor. In other words, they knew not only what you were seeing, what you were saying on the phone, but also your movements. That also was being monitored. A mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of every citizen in this country. This is what was happening. Madam Speaker, this government will not be deflected from seeking out the truth and bringing to justice and making accountable to the law those who are responsible for just despicable acts. I can tell the House, I will update the House once I get further report. I'm even prepared to lay the report on the table of the Assembly so that you can see with your eyes what was happening to our country.
I will, honourable members, time is already up, but in view of the importance of the question, of course I didn't stop the Prime Minister, so I will also allow one question.
Just one. If you might allow two, because I have two parliamentary questions coming.
Just one.
Well, I'll put it all together then. Is the Prime Minister said on the 20th of January that he hasn't received assurances that there might not be other systems in use right now, and therefore this is very serious. Not only what the Prime Minister has described as un outil de surveillance massif officiellement installé, but also it appears that the own Prime Minister's line has been taken and subsequently leaked. Is the Prime Minister not now of the opinion that this, perhaps the most important matter regarding privacy, regarding secrets of the Mauritian state, safeguarding those secrets, given that he cannot say if those equipments are still being used according to his interview on the 20th. My question is, the Honourable Prime Minister, that doesn't he deem fit to instate a commission of inquiry to shed the light on, first of all, who has ordered for this system to be put in place? Secondly, the funds that have been paid. Thirdly, who have kept copies of what? Because of what we understand, the data has been deleted. And we must know, yes, the question is, it appears that the data has not been kept in one place and that many persons, more than one, may still have that data because same has been leaked during the campaign. Therefore, the question is, does he not see it as a matter of urgency to set up a commission of inquiry which has already been set up by the previous government and to urgently shed all the light on this whole saga, which, do not forget, has put you in power?
We were put in power.
Members, let the Prime Minister speak.
Madam Speaker, we were put in power because people in this country felt in their guts what was happening and they voted for liberty. Liberty. That's what they voted. And unity. Because the communal campaign went as well, but nobody cared. Mauritians are Mauritians. Un peuple admirable, comme on dit. But I answered the question that you asked. That I have made sure international experts, precisely what I said in January. This is precisely why I got international experts, real experts in the matter, to look at the whole matter and to, I've even quoted what they said, that the system has been disbanded. But as you say, that is why I say it's a preliminary investigation. We can't say at the moment who has got what that they've kept. We will know. Unless they leave the country for good, we will know. If they're here, we will know. These people, you know, Madam Speaker, it's like the scums of the earth. That's what we're dealing with. We ought to rub their face in the gutter where they belong.
Members, time is up now for PMQT.